Holy shit, dude. Sup? Reitannite, Reitanna Seishin here. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, but, Mike was on vacation for 9 days. So, I'm getting ready to do a stream once my game loads. But, in the meantime, I need to tell you about the stream. Now, for those of you who follow my dream journals, I'm not sure if I talked about, that one dream where I killed a girl and blamed it on somebody else, and she was afraid that I would kill her if she didn't plead guilty to the crime, and then she later said it was me, and then I had to go on trial. I don't remember the outcome of that dream, but in this one, I was sitting in a classroom or something, and, I guess the case had been marked solved or something, and a friend of the girl that I framed, or basically just pointed a finger at, and they were like, "Ooh, icky," because the justice system in my dreams. A friend of her had been working for a couple of years to try and prove that she was innocent, and she wanted to find the actual killer. Well, I don't know how she did it, but she was able to pin it on me, I think. That's the thing. It's really convoluted. So I was sitting there, and I guess I was a student. I don't know if I was in high school or if I was in college or something in between. I don't know. Reitanna, what could possibly be in between high school and college? High college? I don't know. School? High? Mid-school. It's the mid-school. That's not gonna be a thing. So when she said, when she got in front of the class and said, and I think we were taking some, detective, criminal type class, so it must have been college. I don't see why it wouldn't be college, but, you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, detective class is not the term. Private eye lessons sort of thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know terms. Reitanna can't speak English. So, I guess, everybody was given fake cases to try and solve, but this girl decided to, use the opportunity to bring forth a real case. And on the inside, I was kind of panicking, because I'm like, you found the real killer? I mean, wait, what? So, but I was, I'm super cool in my dream world. Super cool. So I was able to keep a calm head about it. But I think there was a rumor that started to spread that she had pinned me as the killer. And so, but everybody in the class who had heard the rumor were like, oh, she wouldn't hurt a fly, blah, 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 blah. And, but the looks that she was giving me, it was like, oh, what the hell? She totally suspects you. She's crazy. And then she gave her presentation as to how I, somehow the hair that they had gotten, I don't remember how that trial, I don't remember if they, found me guilty or not. I don't remember. I guess whatever this universe is, I was found innocent. But, yeah, she had, I don't know how she got a hold of the evidence, though. But everybody was like, oh no, she's crazy. Kara wouldn't hurt anybody, she's so sweet, she's so happy, and I'm sitting there like, looking at the girl like, are you serious right now? Trying to give her, that moment of doubt, like, oh my god, did I totally just, point my finger at the wrong person? Was all of this research for nothing? But she was just so sure. She was so sure. And I just shrugged it off. And the teacher was on my side too. She was like, oh, okay, sit down, fun, I'll give you some credit for doing something, but that wasn't the assignment. So, and then we were just working, and the girl was fuming, and, but apparently the girl had alerted the authorities once she came up with all of this before she did the presentation, and also my parents, which for some reason are in my life again, even Aaron, and, so I have continuing storylines in my dreams, and apparently, a few weeks, maybe a month ago, maybe a few months ago, I don't know, I have no sense of time, Erin showed up in my dreams again, like she was okay to be near me or something, and she keeps trying to be a mother, and I refuse to call her mom, and, I openly make jokes about her being a whore, and, I have no filter, with the drugs and all the shit, and she's had plenty of times where she's shown that she hasn't changed, so, and my dad is on and off, in my dream world. He's really cold toward me, even though he wouldn't be that cold toward me in real life. I think it's because in real life, he was absent for almost everything, and any promise he ever made, he never kept. So in my dream world, he's, never there for me. He's only there when it's convenient, and when he is, it's, just not really happiness. So whether dreams are parallel universes, or whether they're just, subconscious thoughts, fears, etc., this is obviously playing on, the fact that I practically grew up without a father, and that he was very irresponsible as a father, and, I don't hold as much resentment toward him because he never abused me. He did have an anger issue, so he shouted at me a lot, like violently shouted, but otherwise he never laid a hand on me. But he's like a friend that just can't keep their promises and borrows money from you all the time. Anyway, so my parents were informed, I guess, and they were concerned because they didn't believe it, and so I guess they were talking to the police, and the police called the school, called my teacher, and said, the mother wants to speak to her, and so she relayed the message to me while on the phone, and I shouted, no, not the mother. I want to speak to my father. I will not speak to her. And so she, told the police to send the father or something. And, he, then, she inquired why I got so defensive about, them wanting to send Aaron, and that's when I lost my cool, and I went on a tangent that basically, cause she had incredible deductive reasoning, she was a teacher to the subject for a reason, probably a retired detective or whatever, or PI, I don't know, and she deduced from my change in behavior, the way I spoke, and the aggressive words that I said, toward the idea of Erin and such, the things I wanted to do to her, the things she did to me, made her realize that I was actually the killer. And she sort of hinted it. She was no longer as friendly toward me. And, I guess she went to the back room or something, and she called the police again. So, and then some of the students started to suspect me. Some of the students moved away from me and were like, okay, she's kind of scary now. Like, what happened? She used to be this thing, and now she's a completely different person. And, she used to be this thing. Yes, speak, Reitanna. And the girl who had found the evidence against me, was starting to, look a little happier. So, I continued to play it cool, and I said, there's nothing wrong against having that much resentment toward the person who abused you for 14 years of your life. Think about it reasonably. And the people who were still on my side, patted my back and were like, it's okay, we believe you, we know you wouldn't do anything. Everybody has homicidal thoughts once in a while, blah, 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 blah. But then, I guess we were watching a film, and in the middle of it, the police came in. Everybody was quiet, and I was quiet, and I didn't meet anybody's eyes. And they took my arms, and they stood me up, they handcuffed me, and they led me out of the room. I didn't struggle, I didn't say a word, I didn't cry, I didn't do anything. I just accepted it. I was like, fuck. Well, I guess, I might as well just make this easier on me. So I was taken down to the station, but still there was that little bit of doubt that I didn't do it, so it wasn't like, you're permanently going to jail, you're going to be, held until your trial, which, I guess, I don't know the rules of the, double jeopardy thing. I guess you can be, in my dream world, you can be tried for the same crime twice. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Anyway, so, and my father was there at the station, and he was looking at me, and he was crying, and he was just like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know if I believe you or not. I don't know what to believe. And, I told him, I'm an expert manipulator, by the way. I told him, they'll find me innocent. There's, nothing against me. I've got nothing to hide because there's nothing to hide, And, I kept my cool. I kept calm and kept my cool. Speak. And I, reassured him, I would never do anything like that. Why would I do something like that? And I could tell that he was not reassured. He knew me well enough in my dream world to know that I might actually be capable of such a thing, especially with my attitude toward Erin and the fact that, he hasn't been around in my dream world whenever I've tried to kill her. But other people have witnessed it. One time I actually did kill her. I'll get into that maybe later. I've got to finish this dream. I got to stay on track. So, I, asked the police, can I text my boyfriend to let him know what's going on? They believed that I was guilty, so their bias made them say no. Because they were afraid that I was gonna, call for help, or that I was gonna escape or something. So they went wherever, and I guess somebody of higher rank came out and uncuffed me, and said, sorry for the brutality, whatever. They just had a warrant to take you in. They didn't have a warrant for your actual arrest. But, you, due to protocol, you will have to be, contained until your trial. And I asked him, can I text my boyfriend? He said, go ahead. But I never got to texting Michael. And I don't know why. I think things kept coming up that kept distracting me from grabbing my phone, which was in my backpack, which I had managed to grab before they had lifted me out of my seat to drag me out. And I don't know. I did start to panic a little bit. I did start to cry, and I realized that I hadn't taken my medication. I hadn't taken any of my medication, and I was like, oh, shit, this is going to blow everything! And, I had to try and make people understand when I started crying, with the people who suspected me. I had to make them understand, I haven't taken my medicine. I'm manic depressive. I have social anxiety disorder. And, I have PTSD. I'm not in control of my emotions right now, and you can understand that from my perspective, this is really scary. So, yeah, I'm upset. And, a lot of people stood by my side on that one. And for some reason, my grandmother was called, even though my parents were around. I don't know what was going on. And she completely believed that I was guilty, because I guess I had spent more time around her, and, she knew my hatred for Aaron, and she, had seen enough of my, past behavior to go, she is completely capable of doing this sort of thing, and I absolutely believe she's guilty. She didn't voice it to me, but she did not look happy to see me, and she was glaring at me, and her eyes were filled with tears. And, so I was, contained for a couple of hours, and I was thinking about everything. I was like, well, if I'm found guilty, it's not the end of the world. It's only one person. And if I, behave, I could be let out early or put on parole or something, just good behavior. Just behave like you would in school, be the rule abider, the suck up, basically, the teacher's pet. And everything will go well. Just be nice to everybody. And in the real world, I don't know how women's prisons work, but if you're a goody-goody, I'm pretty sure they don't really like you very much. So, but that was my philosophy. Just be a good seed and everything will be fine. But all of a sudden my trial was moved up to that very day, the same day I got taken in. And that never happens. It was really scary, though, because, I was put in a room filled with people. Not like a judge in the front and a crowd, after the desks of, the lawyers. It was, everybody was crowded in this frickin' room all together. There were so many people, and I was squished between people, almost as if they were purposefully trying to trigger my social anxiety disorder. And, I was sitting there, I was freaking out, trying not to meet anybody's eyes, and I'm trying to find my phone, and, this woman next to me kept blaming me for things, like she would say, stop tapping my knee or whatever, and, I'd say, I didn't touch you. In fact, I was holding my backpack to me because when I'm out in public and I'm having a silent panic attack, the pre-panic attack before the breaking point, I have to hold on to something. That's why I have a fidget spinner. Because usually I'm either, wringing my hands or holding on to my arms. Well, my right hand was holding tightly onto a corner of my backpack. My left hand was tucked under my right upper arm, so there wasn't really any way to have tapped her knee, and I explained that, but she kept tapping her knee and saying, you did this, tap-a-tap-tap. She was being really, really annoying, and she knew she was being annoying. I could tell. She was trying to set me off. She was trying to set off my anger, knowing that I hadn't taken my medicine to control my emotions. So, And other people were doing it too. Other people were, you know, trying to set me off with various things, you know, blaming me for things that I did not do, saying, oh, she's angry, so she's obviously guilty, you know, oh, if she goes off, she's guilty, we know she's guilty. And and so many people were talking at once. And then this one lady was trying to ask me a question, but she was speaking purposefully softly, and I kept hearing something else, but I couldn't fully hear what she said. And I'm trying to ask her, you know, can you speak up a little louder? And each time I asked that, she spoke more quietly, and everybody else kept speaking more loudly. And finally, I just was like, shut up! And everybody went silent, and everybody was staring at me, and it was totally not awkward at all. And and they were like, well then, how rude. And I looked at the woman who was trying to ask me a question. I put on this friendly face, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but can you please say what you were trying to say a little more loudly? I cannot hear you. And she said it softly again, and I repeated to her what I heard. And then she asked me the question more loudly. I don't remember what the question was or what I heard. Whatever I heard, of course, did not make sense. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I really couldn't hear you. She was like, I wasn't speaking that softly. Well, I'll have to look back on the notes of who's recording this trial, you know, because there's always that person who's recording everything that's said, on a piece of paper or on a laptop, however they do it now. And I was just feeling so pressured because I was like, you did that on purpose. And I was feeling paranoid. I was paranoid as hell. And I was like, they're all trying to get me. They're all trying to pin this on me. And even if I were innocent, I think they would still try to, you know, do this. You know, I'm not safe. Nowhere's safe. No one can be trusted. All my thoughts were running rampant like they do in situations where I don't have my medication and something is going on, even just something small. But this was big, you know? I killed a girl. This was not small. And, you know, I was still trying, you know, I kept telling myself, you know, text Michael. He's at work right now, but you need to tell him what's happening. And he knew that I did it. For some reason. I think he guessed. I think later he was like, you killed that girl, didn't you? And I didn't deny it. I didn't admit it, but I didn't deny it, but he knows me. So if I were to say, you know, I got arrested for a murder I didn't commit, he would know that that meant they found me. They got me. So, but I still never got around to texting him. And then, I don't know, the trial didn't actually commence. Everybody just kept talking and kept pointing their fingers at me, kept closing in on me to set me off. And finally, I snapped. And I started pushing people and hitting people, and for some reason I didn't have my fire powers, but I could still float. I've been having trouble flying lately, but I can float. And so I used that to my advantage, and then all of a sudden, a couple of people dressed in black took out these, like, guns from their briefcases, and they handed them to me, and I was like, okay, don't kill those people. They are helping me for some reason. And even though I, in real life, have never shot a gun, probably have really bad aim, like I do in first-person shooters, and generally don't like guns, because they're really loud, and, in America, the regulation is so light that anybody could get a gun. Anybody. Anywhere in America can get a gun, because guns don't kill people, people kill people. But, I don't know, these were some badass, like, futuristic type guns. And basically killing the entire room, except for the people dressed in the same suits as the people who gave me the guns. Apparently, this trial was not a trial. It was a test. These people had taken me into this quote-unquote trial room as a test to see if I could become a spy. These people were spies. And all the people that I had killed were actually robots or something. Like really realistic robots that spat out red when I shot them. But I was willing to kill them because I had been set off, and that's what they were trying to test to see how I would react in this kind of situation. And I guess I was so overwhelmed by everything, and the fact that I hadn't taken my sleeping medication, the night prior, because apparently I spent the night at a friend's house, and this was in a previous dream. From some other night ago, I spent the night at a friend's house and I didn't have my sleeping medication, and, the friend was extremely poor, so, it's one of those houses with very little bedrooms and a bunch of siblings sleeping in the same room with not enough room for them. So I was on the floor, and, didn't have a blanket. I had my backpack as my pillow. Whatever. So I fainted / fell asleep, whatever, and I had a dream that I was back at my friend's house in the exact same place. Yes, a dream within a dream. I have those a lot. And, so I was like, oh, thank God. That entire thing was just a dream. I haven't even gone to school yet. And, but then I heard this staticky, weird, sound and this glow from the hallway because the door was open. And if anybody knows me, you know that if I'm in a room where, I'm sleeping, like if it's a bedroom, I cannot sleep with the door open. I don't know where it comes from, but I cannot sleep with it open. So I buried my face into my backpack, and I think I was able to clutch a piece of cloth or something to put over my face. And I saw the glow get brighter from beneath the cloth, and I said, don't look at it, because I knew if I looked at it, I would be scared shitless. But, somehow I knew what it looked like, even though I didn't look at it. It was my father, but his head was a television, and his face was on the television, but it was all salt and peppery, and I could hear the static, and he kept repeating, oh, I know what he was saying. What was he saying? I think he kept saying, I can't believe it. I don't believe it. And he was walking really slowly like a zombie, and he was talking, like a robot. He was like, I don't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't believe it. And it was terrifying, and I was like, oh shit, this is a dream. Everything that happened was real. And I managed to wake up. And oftentimes, if you followed my dream journal about Randy, about the situation with Lulu the Furby and everything, since that dream, I am often crippled. And this wasn't really an exception. I wasn't in my little device, but sometimes I was. Other times I just had trouble walking and moving. But I was crippled. Sometimes I'm in my device, sometimes I'm not. And they understood this. And I woke up, and they put me in a wheelchair. And, they said, we're taking you to, a special, facility or whatever. The girl was like, I'm a spy who poses as a substitute teacher for, special education classes. I need you to act like you are, have a learning disability, that you are mentally handicapped. And apparently, in this school, I knew a couple of the special kids and, quote-unquote kids. Obviously, if we're in college, they would be adults, but, I knew them, they knew me by name, but the spies were trying to give me a new identity, to just introduce me as a different person. I don't remember what the name was. I think it was Candace or something. So they wheelchaired me. I didn't speak, and I just kind of acted sort of childish and fidgety, and tried to make it seem like I didn't understand what was going on, and I'd make little sounds. But as soon as they wheeled me into this one special education class, one of the girls were like, "Kara, what are you doing here?" And then the spy was like, "Nope," turned around and went to a different class. Because apparently the fake special ed kids, who were actually spies, were integrated with real special ed kids who weren't spies. So she was trying to find one that did not have somebody who knew me. And I told them, I'm like, a lot of people know me because for some reason in my dream world I'm popular and I'm well liked. Because that's how I wished things were be. Things were be. Yes. Things he do. So I tried to tell them that, but they finally found a class where no one knew me, no one saw me around, whatever. And so I was playing with, like, chewed up bubblegum or something, and, I wouldn't acknowledge the teacher when she, went down to speak to me, with, how she would speak to anybody else with a learning disability that, prevents you from living a normal everyday life. One of the other quote-unquote special ed kids came up to, the spy who was acting as my, escort, when in high school, the special ed kids usually have one assigned, teacher, ? That, follows them around, helps them, whatever. She was acting as my escort, and one of the other quote-unquote special ed kids came up to her and babbled a string of words that did not make sense. But apparently it was some kind of code, and she understood it. So then I was taken to, like, a secret facility of these kids who, are actually special, but not in the way that special ed kids are. They all had their own talents. Like, there was this blind girl who could paint and write perfectly without any sight, without any help, nothing. It was incredible. And they were like these works of art. And, it was filled with geniuses and people who could do just extraordinary things and have extraordinary talents. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I don't belong here. I'm smart, but I'm leagues behind these guys. Why did you pick me? And apparently they picked me because of my emotions, how powerful my emotions are when I don't have my medication. Because my friends used to tell me that, when I'm happy, I'm like everybody's sunshine. I can make everybody in the room happy. When I'm sad, I can bring everybody down. I've had countless people tell me that, and I don't know if it's just because, they were around me a lot. I don't know exactly how that quote-unquote effect works in, real life. But that's what people used to tell me. So in my dream world, it's even more so. It's like a power. And I was talking to, some of the people, they range from, teenagers to young adults, in this academy who were training us to be spies. And they were explaining things, and they showed, an assignment that they were to do right now, and they're like, do you recognize these numbers? And there were all sorts of numbers and symbols, mathematics that I didn't understand, that were just complete gibberish to me, and I was like, nope. And they were like, you will. And I'm like, I seriously doubt it. When do they want this assignment turned in? And they were like, by November 9th, which was, the day after my birthday, and today is October 26th. And I just laughed. I was like, you seriously, you don't expect me to know all of this, to be able to solve all of this within, what is it? 3 weeks, I think, if I'm estimating correctly. Within 3 weeks? And they were like, don't worry, you will. And I'm just sitting there, I'm still laughing, and I'm like, in a lifetime, I wouldn't be able to figure this shit out. There is no way that my lazy ass would even put in the effort to try. And each time I would fail and become more frustrated because I cannot math, guys. I cannot math. I'm stupid when it comes to math. You know, I still count on my fingers, which is actually very helpful. I don't know why they say, you know, don't count on your fingers. It's extremely helpful. But I'm like, you're fucking smoking something crazy if you think that I'm going to be able to solve this like a piece of cake in 3 weeks. And they were just still confident. They were like, you will. And I was very sleepy because I was going off of, you know, no sleep, little forced sleep. I was just like so tired. I was feeling so lazy. And each time I attended a lesson, I was falling asleep. I was like, I cannot concentrate on this. I don't even want to take notes. I need to show them that I do not belong here. So I'm not even going to try. So instead, they put on, a bunch of really trippy videos, set to Tool songs. And hardly anybody, in the class knew who Tool was because they weren't the, you know, music type. They were focused on their talents. They didn't have time for, you know, especially something so, I'm gonna say rebellious, for lack of a better term. Take that with a grain of salt. And the girl that I was befriending who sat next to me, what was her talent? She could... crap. I think it had something to do with reading or something. She could read a page of something by only looking at it for a mere second or something like that. She had, like, the most perfect photographic memory literally ever. But she was shy like me, and she said every time, you know, I try to make friends with a group, I end up, you know, just pushing myself away from them because I'm shy and insecure. And I'm like, so am I. I'm afraid of people. And she was like, you know, but I've been here for a couple of months. And I'm like, you mind if I just stick with you? And she's like, I would prefer it if you did. So we became friends, and she was like, what is this music? And I'm like, it's Tool. It's the greatest fucking band in the fucking universe. And the footage was so mesmerizing. It's like one of those things where if you were high, it would take you away, but you didn't need to be high to be taken away by this, because the combination of the imagery and the music, I don't know if it was affecting other people, but it sure as hell affected me. And they didn't show the entire music video. They made sure, you know, they would tell the person working the computer and the projector, you know, don't show them the whole thing, you know, switch to the next one. So they would switch. And, I kept trying to float away involuntarily, and my friend kept tugging me back down as if I'm trying to get out of my seat. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a tendency to float away, and I can't control it, you know, especially when I'm relaxed. When I'm relaxed, I'm just like a bubble. Bye! And I'll, like, turn around in midair and just roll in a ball through the air like a bubble. It's weird. But they played like 3 different videos, and they stopped them before the conclusion of the song, and they addressed me specifically, and they were like, in the first video, how many stairs were there? And it was a video of so many stairs. Like, it was industrial. There were so many stairs where clay figurines of the members of Tool were, you know, playing their instruments, and Maynard was singing and stuff. But there were so many stairs. And I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't know how many fucking stairs there were. I wasn't counting. Do you think I was actually paying attention? And they stared at me and they were like, just throw out a number. How many stairs do you think there were? And I was like, I don't know, 152? And they were like, you're correct. And I'm like, okay, lucky guess. I've done things like that before. I've estimated numbers before. There was one time where I estimated the total, grocery, and this is in real life, by the way, when I was living with my ex-friend. We went grocery shopping, and the mother was like, okay, how much do you think this is going to be? And I was like, $288. And I was off by like 23 cents. It was like $288 and 20 something cents, whatever. So, you know, it's not impossible to get something correct based on no knowledge. And they were like, they asked me a question about the second video. I don't remember what it was. I only specifically remember the stair question. And I got that one right. Then they asked me one about the third one, and I got that one right. And they were like, you're a lazy genius. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And they're like, it means you don't have to pay attention to small details, but you'll get it right anyway. Now, in real life, in no way is this true. Anytime I was lazy in class, I didn't just pick up on it. I can't do that. I wish I could. That would be awesome. That means I wouldn't have to do any work to instantly gain knowledge to things. That would be super cool. But apparently that was my special talent, was my laziness and my ability to emote. So, I didn't really believe them, but apparently after 3 weeks I managed to solve that huge math problem. Just by looking at it and being confused. I was like, what the hell is going on? So I had to assume a new identity, I was relocated, and I was to be confined to a wheelchair, which, I could walk, but again, I was crippled, so walking and even using my arms was difficult. So I could realistically play a paraplegic. It would add to the laziness, it would add to the frustration on top of my disorders, so my emotions would naturally be, impulsive, and erratic. So, but I had to get used to not trying to stand up and walk. They put me in this cool spy car. They put my wheelchair in the back, and they put me in the front, and, we left the academy or whatever, which was super spy-like and super cool, and there were super things that you never saw in spy movies ever, like covered cars, like they were like giant boxes with black, foam over the windshields. I don't know their function, but I wasn't the only one in the car. I was with a couple of other semi-graduate students that were going under a trial or something, and there were like 2 of them in the back with another spy. So there was one spy driving, there was another spy in the back. And I was looking at things, and the door was really cool. The door, like, instead of like the futuristic doors that go and go up above the door instead of swinging outward, this one went underneath and formed a platform specifically for wheelchair accessibility. I don't know, it's crazy. And, the students in the back were, like, joking about how this is nothing like the movies. So the driver, he was, this quiet Asian guy, but he had a sense of humor, and he put on, stereotypical spy music. Let's see if I can find something. Okay, I'm gonna turn my microphone to the speaker. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So, it wasn't exactly like this. Oops, sorry. But it was pretty damn close. Not this one. I think it starts in a couple seconds. Come on. Here we go. not gonna play the whole thing. Noisy microphone moving. Anyway, I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but that, stereotypical spy music. And we all laughed, and then he turned it to something, more, I guess, calm. I think he turned it to some, like, classical music or something, or environmental, ambience. I don't know. But, it was pretty late at night. I still hadn't slept. But we were going to be on our way to a nice mansion where the spies would drop me and the other 2 students off. The other 2 students were my siblings, and I was the disabled sibling, and we were to be, I guess, adopted by the family who lived there? I don't know, because I never got there. I had fallen asleep in the car, and next thing I knew, Michael was giving me a kiss, and I opened my eyes, and I was like, where the fuck am I? Because it was so real. Even though the dream was so unrealistic, it was so real. I've been seeing my dreams like they're real life, and I will explain that in a moment. I dropped a quarter. And he asked me, do you want me to give you the rats while I go record? And I said no. So he let me sleep for another hour, and I don't think I had any dreams during that hour. And then he woke me up again and said, you want the rats? And I, decided I need to get up. So I said, yeah, give me the rats. So the rats woke me up like usual. So, I don't know how long ago this happened, but I was in a dream that was really, really blurry. You know how dreams are sometimes hard to see. They're foggy. And I don't remember what I did in this dream, but I managed to clear up my vision, and I opened my eyes, and I saw everything as clear as reality. And it was so bizarre. I was just like, holy shit, what did I just do? I need to remember this for future dreams. And, so ever since then, I've been able to see things more clearly. They don't really get blurry unless I feel sleepy in dream. And it's so bizarre. It's such a bizarre feeling because it feels so real. And everything's a continuation of everything else. And now I can't remember what I was going to mention later. Hang on. Oh yes. The murder of Aaron. Now, I had this dream actually probably a few nights ago. I'm going to kind of summarize it. But apparently I had tried to kill Aaron. I managed to stab her. And she flumped to the floor. And my best friend, Senpai, was there, and she was kind of freaked out. She was like, okay, I knew you were going to do that, but why did you have to do that in front of me? Because she knows that I'm capable of doing that. But this little girl also saw. I have no idea who the little girl was. I think she was like a neighbor or something. And I told her, I'm like, you didn't see anything, right? She was like, I didn't see anything. And, because she was smart. And, but then Aaron got up again, and I was like, and she pulled the knife out of her shoulder. I guess I didn't hit anything vital, and she tried to attack me back. And I pulled the knife out of her hand, and I kicked her, and I stabbed her in the back, and I kept stabbing until she would stay down, motherfucker. So finally she was like that. But neighbors had heard the screaming, I guess, and I heard sirens in the background. So I said, I turned to Senpai, and I turned to the girl, and I'm like, you guys can either come with me, because I gotta go, or you can pretend you didn't see anything. Okay, leave the house, get somewhere far away, find an alibi. You had nothing to do with this. You didn't see anything, you didn't hear anything, you don't know where I went. Or you could come with me. but we gotta go right now. As I was saying this, I was packing up stuff. And for some reason, Senpai and the little girl decided to come with me. I don't know why. I think it's because they felt like they couldn't lie about not seeing anything, especially when there's most likely evidence that both of them were there. So, we left, and then for some reason, Michael joined us later. And by the way, we usually travel by balloon. Not hot air balloon, no. We hang on to big groups of balloons. And we hang on for dear life, and we get carried through the air. So Michael joined us, and my old friend Courtney joined us, and her boyfriend at the time, I don't know if she's with him, her boyfriend at the time, Sebastian, joined us, and my ex-friend Ariel joined us. So we had all these balloons, and we were wanted. And, I, once again, didn't have my medication. I have a lot of dreams where I don't have my medication because not having it is one of my biggest fears. So we were trying to travel to a certain place, but I accidentally fell because I'm crippled and I couldn't hang on to the balloons, and I kept telling them, you need to secure me or I'm gonna fall. And I fell. And, I didn't get more injured. I don't know why. And as they were floating away, they were yelling, they were like, we'll come back for you. And I'm like, you sons of bitches! I told you this would happen! And I was just mad and, emotionally unstable. So instead of waiting there for them to come back, I started wandering off. And, I was so mad, and I was huffing, and I was like, not hanging me on balloons. And, I don't know how this happened, because we had been traveling for a few days, but I ended up in Peru. And I don't know if Peru is the right place, but there's some place, it's like the murder capital of the world, where, like, there's a reported 10 to 15 murders every day, homicides every day. And I ended up there. And I was scared shitless. And it was almost post-apocalyptic. The water was so tainted that it had turned to, like, this thick, goopy, sewery acid that if you touched it, your skin's gonna completely melt off of your skeleton. And, and then people were raiding houses, people were robbing each other, money wasn't important anymore. Now it was your supplies, if you have food on you, we're gonna hold you at gunpoint, you better give us your food. So, I managed to be picked up by my friends again, and I was specifically mad at Michael for some reason. I'm always mad at Michael, but for some reason, in the dream, we had an inside joke where we had two kids, and, two children. And it was a daughter named Pup-Tart and a son named Carmelo. And so he offered me 2 bundles of joy, and he said, here's our children, and I opened it up to see 2 paper mache, very badly crafted paper mache dolls with Sharpie faces and yarn hair. I don't think it was yarn hair, I think it was painted hair. I don't exactly remember. And it was Pop-Tart and Carmelo. Later in the dream, they became sentient, and they started developing powers that made our balloons go faster, and they could stretch their limbs and etc. Then we found ourselves in a boss battle in I think the very last boss battle with Ganon in the very first Zelda game. I never got that far, so I couldn't battle him, but the battle was, like, completely different than it actually was. It was like this, it had to do with destroying blocks or something, I don't know. But, Michael was shooting a Nerf gun, but he didn't actually have any darts in it. He was just holding it, aiming at Ganon, and going, pew, 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 and it was working. And then all the others, for some reason, had beaten Ganon, and apparently it was the hardest boss ever in the world, ever, universe, ever, among any games, modern or, classic, ever. And they were like, oh, no! But I didn't have anything to contribute because I guess the only way you can contribute was if you had beaten him before. And they were all like shooting their fake lasers and pew 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 pew, and it worked. And they beat him. They beat him with invisible weapons. And then we managed to find a house because we had gotten directions from this guy, and he said we needed to go somewhere, and he was about to give us directions, but he fell off the bridge into the water, and he melted, and he died. So we found a house to take shelter in that had not been ransacked yet, not too much. There was evidence of a little bit of ransacking. And we were like, okay, we'll be safe here until we can figure something out. And I was exploring the house, and I came up to this man with long hair and a bandana, and he kind of looked at me, and he was in the middle of stashing clothing. And I was like, oh, hi there. You know, trying to be really nice. Maybe this guy isn't a threat. And I'm like, do you think... He could speak English, by the way. Do you think you can try and help us? We're trying to get somewhere. We're wondering if you know directions. And before I said that, I said, sorry to barge in. I didn't know if this was actually his house. And he said, yeah, sure, I can help you out. Just give me a minute. So I went back to my friends and I'm like, I just found a guy. And in reality, never trust anybody. But for some reason, I trusted this guy. And remember, I have super duper awesome powers. Even though I wasn't fighting Ganon with them. So... So I went to my friends and I said, I saw this guy, he can give us directions. And then I got this bad feeling, and the bad feeling was true, because he next came out with a gun, and he was like, give me all your supplies. And I guess I said, no, and I had to shove one of my friends out of the way, because he shot at us. And then I guess I had this piece of glass or something that was curved, like a boomerang, and he was around this kitchen island, and I threw it, and it missed him, and it curved back around, and it missed him again, and it just kept going in circles around the island, and we were all just watching it, and my friends were kind of standing very still, wide-eyed. They were like, okay, let's hope it doesn't hit us. And on one time around, one of the guys we were with, because we were accumulating all of these people with our balloons, he managed to direct the boomerang, trying to aim it at the guy with the gun, but instead, he aimed it at one of the other girls in our group, and it hit her in the back. And it was a large piece of glass, but she kind of stood there and was like, huh? And she pulled it from her back, there was no wound, no nothing. And then she tried to throw it at the guy, and it hit one of the other boys in the glasses. It didn't really break the glasses, and he wasn't hurt in any way, and he was just like, what the hell? And the guy with the gun is just sitting there like, what? And then the kid turns, and he's closest to the guy with the gun, and he goes, throw, and it hits the guy, and it slices his neck, and he's dead. And we're all like, okay then. And then more gangs started coming up to ransack the house, so we were like, okay, grab what you can and go. And they were chasing us, and then we found another house on top of a hill that was really small and abandoned, and we went in. And if you guys have ever watched Bleach and finished it, by the arc with, Princess, Yoruichi, or whatever, no, Yoruichi's the cat. Princess, I don't remember her name because I hated that filler, but there was this annoying whistle that would happen in, all of the fillers from that point on, and I heard that whistle, and so did Michael, and we looked at each other, and we were like, oh my god, and I was like, shut the door, and we were all trying to get in, and we accidentally shut one of the girls out, and she was like, let me in, I don't know what's going on, let me in, and then she was like, holy shit, what the fuck is that thing, and I opened the door, and I pulled her in, and I peeked out, and there's an Iran car! There's an Iran car, and and I shut the door, and we all listened, and we're like, he's whispering something. I was like, oh shit, he's calling out his Zanpakuto! Run! So, we flew out of there, and Pop-Tart and Carmelo were helping us to escape with super speed. And, somehow, Courtney gave birth to actual twins, actual babies, who were actually dolls. Like baby dolls. Our shitty papier-mâché dolls were sentient and children, and then these real children were not real children. I don't exactly remember how that ended. But, another thing that's been happening lately is I've recently discovered that if I do something in a specific order and then I phase through a white wall, I can put myself in between dimensions. And it's this great black space. You can't see anything. And it looks like if you were to go into it, you would fall endlessly until never. And I popped a pebble into it and I didn't hear any tink tink sound. But when I jumped into it, there was a floor. But you could, like, go further down, you could go on endlessly, and somehow you can always find your way back. But it's like, you enter other dimensions through this blackness. And I've been to other dimensions with it. But the way to get in was you had to walk vertically, with your back, starting with your back to the wall. You had to pace back and forth 10 times, and it had to be 10 times. Not only that, but it had to be at a specific pace. And then, within a certain time limit, after your 10th walk, you had to go up to the wall, and you had to press your palms against it, and push very slightly, and then press your body against it, and the wall would become really malleable, like very soft, warm clay, and you could ease your way very slowly through the wall and into this in-between dimension place. I haven't come up with a name for it. And, but it was really hard to achieve because the pacing is really precise. But each time I managed to do it, I come to, interesting places. I came to this one place where my life is completely different. Everybody is, half animal. My family was half cat, but there were also half dogs and stuff. Not only that, but every adult had superpowers. Every single one. Like superpowers weren't a thing until you hit a certain age, and then all of a sudden you had superpowers. And so you were either a hero or a villain. Or, whatever, to save the world, woohoo. And I lived in this huge mansion with my cat parents, and, the thing is I replaced the original Kara in that universe, so I had to make up some amnesia story. I'm like, I don't remember any of your names, I don't know who you are, I don't know who anybody is. Apparently my boyfriend was this really hot blonde guy. He sort of looked like Tom Felton with his bleached hair as Draco. But he was much taller, and, I had this really hot blonde guy come up and give me a kiss, and he said, I missed you. And I'm like, where was I? Who are you? And apparently, his name was, I'm gonna call him, I know the word that came before the name, but I'm just gonna call him Tom, because he looked like Tom Felton. His name was Gorgeous Tom. And I started laughing. And one of my siblings was laughing too. My other siblings were like, she's never laughed at this before. But I was laughing my ass off with the sibling who thought the name was ridiculous. And I was like, did I come up with that nickname? Do I call him Gorgeous Tom? And she's like, no! He named himself that! And I was just howling with laughter. It was the most ridiculous thing. And I don't know. It was odd. And that's, not the only other universe I've been to. But yeah, I'm not gonna... The main one was the dream that I explained first. So, Mike's probably gonna be home for lunch soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and leave a like, and click the little bell. Spread the word of awesome, become a Reitannite, and subscribe. I can never keep that straight. And I'll see you later, alligators and crocodiles. Goodbye.